can you talk about girls who take psych meds?
Don't date girls that take meds. Well,
Tread lightly.
one of my doctor friends, we were, this is like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and one of his medical journals that he gets and is subscribed to was talking that 1 out of every 3 women that's over like 33 years old is on some kind of psychotropic medication. And so you got a 33% chance of dating a girl that's taking crazy pills. But what I found is that it's like if somebody's on some kind of meds, it's like obviously my mother is, you guys know, they've read my books, was a psychotic schizophrenic. And back in the day, she was originally prescribed Xanax. And then I can't remember, and that seemed to chill her out. But as things went on, she got on some kind of other medication. And as long as she was taking it, she was okay. But when she would stop taking it, about 3-4 weeks after it, she'd literally be crazy. She'd be seeing things that weren't there and talking to the disincarnate spirit of a boyfriend she had in high school that had died in a plane crash with his whole family. And it's like, so that's kind of like the extreme mental, that's like crazy mental illness kind of stuff. Versus a girl that's maybe, say, bipolar or she's on antidepressants. It's, those drugs are very strong and very powerful. And if somebody's going to be on those, if a woman is on those, she's going to have to be disciplined and she's going to have to take them regularly. And they have warnings that says, don't drink while you're taking these medications. And I found that girls that don't follow the rules, they act really wacky. They act really kind of nutty. It can be very difficult to be around. And so you're going to have to evaluate that on a case-by-case basis, because oftentimes women are not going to come right out and say, hey, here's my list of meds that I'm on. You tend to find that out later, months later, and you're like, well, I don't really disclose, so it's not good to talk about that when you first meet somebody. So you might be dating a girl for a while, and like I had one that I was dating many years ago, and she always, like her purse, like in the morning, she would always go into the bathroom, and I remember about a month before we broke up, she came to visit me because this was a long distance girlfriend, and we were laying in bed one night, and she's like, "Oh, I've been on antidepressants the last 2 years, and my medication ran out 3 days ago, and things are so great between us. I'm so happy. It's like I'm not gonna take them anymore." And I was listening to that, and I was going, "Oh fuck." Because I grew up with my mother being a psychotic schizophrenic. And I know what happened when she would go on and off those. My dad had a fiance that was like manic depressive, and she had tried to commit suicide 4 times from the time she was like 21, and for like 20 years she did it multiple times when she would go off her meds. And then things were going great between my dad and his fiance. They got engaged. And she decided that she wasn't going to take her antidepressants anymore. And so she just went and quit cold turkey and became really depressed. And then my dad went over there one time, and she did like permanent makeup, like the eyebrows and mascara and, lipstick and all the different stuff that she did, like everything. It's like tattooing,
it's
basically.
Tattoos.
And so she took these little vials, these little bottles of the antiseptic, I guess, that she would put to numb people's skin. She took like, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them. My dad, she wasn't answering the phone. He's like, what the hell's going on? Because she'd been acting weird. And he goes over to her place, and she's laying in bed, and he sees all these vials that are empty. He's like, what is this? And she's like, oh, I took all of them. He's like, why? She's like, well, I'm having a pity party for myself. And so he called an ambulance. They came over. They pumped her stomach. They gave her like charcoal to kind of absorb it. And so she was in a mental hospital for a couple of days, which was very expensive. And then so she comes out, and now she's all upset because she's got a bunch, thousands of dollars in new debt that she just took on. So she felt bad about that. And those things take about a month or so to really work when you've gone off them and kind of normalize. And so I remember we had Christmas together, me and my dad and her daughter, who was like 18 or 19, I think, at the time. And I went back to Orlando, and then I remember I was like 3 or 4 days later. I was with a bunch of my buddies, and we were getting ready to take my boat out, and I got a call from my dad, and he's, upset, and I could barely understand him, and he tells me that his fiance's dead. I was like, what? I was like, just had Christmas together. What are you talking about? And the fifth attempt at suicide, she was successful. She hung herself and put a sign on her door to her daughter saying, "Call the police, don't come in." She'd locked it from the inside, and she took she used to water ski. She took one of the water ski ropes and tied it from a beam that was above her closet and hung herself. And so it's like that's the extreme. So, and I've dated girls that have been on psychotropic meds and they like to drink and they like to party and they don't take them regularly and they act pretty loopy. And it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get when somebody does that. So if you're gonna date a girl that's on those things, she can't be drinking. She has to take them regularly because if she doesn't, it's like her behavior is gonna be like all over the ice, and it can be very difficult to date somebody like that. I'm not gonna lie about it. So if she's disciplined, she's healthy, she works out, she takes them, she doesn't drink, you may have a chance. You're gonna have to evaluate on a case by case basis if you're gonna date somebody like that. So it's like my personal experience, my family's experience is like it's difficult. Like I said, my mom never got any better. My dad's fiance killed herself, and like I said, I've dated other women that they like to party and they like to drink, and you're on and off those meds. It really fucks with their behavior, makes them behave unnaturally.
I think just to clarify on that, there's a difference between like drinking, like having a glass of wine versus having like 3 glasses of wine or having like hard liquor when you're on medication like that. But you really should not be drinking at all. And that would be the more healthier option.
Yeah, it tells you right on the bottle, like
Do not
not drink.
Do not mix with alcohol.
Yep.
And do not get behind
The wheel.
Motorized.
Because they like to play smash up derby.
Yeah.
It's just not good. Like I said.
So why do you think women are more susceptible to like these mental health problems than men? Like why do you think more women
take? It's a biochemical imbalance.
And plus, doctors tend to give those things out like fucking Tic Tacs. They just, oh, you got a problem? Well, hey, here's some Ritalin for you. I mean, it starts as they're kids. This shit didn't exist when I was growing up. It's like they didn't put kids on antidepressants.
Existed.
They didn't give them Ritalin.
Yes, they did.
They didn't give them. What's the other one that they give them? Adderall.
Adderall and Ritalin.
Nobody took any of that bullshit when I was growing up.
Yes, it was.
Nobody took that stuff. Nobody. It's only been in the last 20 years that stuff is like.
I've been on it for 20 years. You go and you go
see a doctor, and it's usually some fat, obese piece of shit that doesn't take care of his body, and he's got a bunch of patients. So he's like, "All right, here's a prescription. Take these pills and get the fuck out of my office. I got to see at least 10 patients a day to pay my bills, And they just don't care. And I saw that with my own mother and the doctor, the psychiatric doctor that she had. It's like, he didn't give a fuck. It's like, here's some meds. Now get out of my office. He didn't really want to be involved because he had a lot of other patients. And that's part of the problem. It's just like anything. I deal with a lot of guys that are in marriage counseling and stuff, and it's usually not going well. And there are some really good couples and marriage therapists out there, and there are some that really fucking suck ass. And so you got to interview multiple ones. If you got a doctor that you're going to and you don't feel like he's helping you, or you got a psychologist or a therapist, or your girlfriend's on meds and she doesn't like her doctor and the doctor doesn't seem to be helping her, go find or interview 3 or 4 other doctors and find somebody that you like that can really educate you and knows what they're doing. Because just because they got a PhD or they went to medical school doesn't mean they're competent. So you got to judge people based on their results and based upon their actions. And I mean, if somebody's going to be a doctor, they at least need to be decently fit, not some fucking morbidly obese slob
that
looks like he's never lifted a weight in his life or eaten a healthy meal in his life.
That is something that they do preach when you get into medical school or the medical field. They do tell you that you have to maintain a healthy weight, a healthy lifestyle, because nobody will want to be seen in your or come to your practice if you do not look a certain way and maintain a certain like healthy lifestyle, because why would someone come to a doctor that's obese and want to get medical like advice from them? I would never go to a doctor that's overweight. If they're not healthy or in shape and look like they're taking care of themselves, I'm not going to go
In
to
my
them.
experience, I found most of them do not.
I
I mean,
just
74% of all Americans are either overweight or obese. Is most people just don't give a fuck. I got
Every-
friends that are doctors. I got friends I grew up with that are doctors, and it's like, it's just most people. They get to a certain point in their life and they don't fucking care. And by the time they get to be my age, they've wrecked their bodies.
every single one of my doctors are all in healthy, great shape, including the ones that are in their 60s and 70s.
Well, maybe you're the exception to the rule. It's
I
not
I
been
refuse
my
to go to a
experience.
doctor that has a gut, a beer belly, that doesn't take care of himself, that doesn't work out, because then what are they doing? They're preaching what they don't like. They're not
Well, those are the
practicing what
ones
they
that are just
preach.
like, here's some pills. Get out
Exactly.
of my fucking office. I got another appointment in
Every
3
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I got shit to do. No, I'm not just a number. I'm a human being with a story and a life, and I'm valued. So if you're not going to value me, I'm going to find somebody else that does. And I think that everybody needs to look at themselves that way and look at their doctors and reevaluate that as well. So,
Yeah, if the guy
penny
or
for that
girl
thought.
is not look like they're healthy, you probably should find somebody else, especially if they're going to advise you on being healthy and being normal.
Yeah. But I do remember that being like a huge thing that they preached.
Yeah, most of them don't follow it in my experience.